So today's subject that we're going to talk about is on facility inspections. And you know, we have each year at the Trust, we try to focus on some new goals and things that can help you to improve your workplace, reduce accidents and injuries, and help you have a better operation. And so this year, one of our main focuses is on facility inspections. And so our training goals in introducing today's webinar really focus around helping you to understand the importance of doing these inspections, help you to understand how to identify hazards, increase your awareness of those, and then really, hopefully, get everybody to commit to being a bigger part of your organization's safety program. Because each of us can make a difference if we work together. If we don't work together, it's going to be a lot harder to get where we need to be. So why is this such a focus for the Trust? Well, because it works. When we talk about facility inspections, when we talk about a safety program that works, facility inspections are a big part of that. Organizations who do inspections like this have a lower incident rate. Just statistics bear that out over and over again. We're out looking for hazards, identifying those, and correcting them. People don't get hurt with those hazards. So we want to find the hazards, eliminate those, but inspections have other purposes. One of those important purposes is they train everybody. It helps everybody to be involved and understand what part they play in their organization's safety program. And it helps in doing so to build our culture, build our safety culture. And that's really our ultimate goal, because if we have a culture of safety, we don't have to worry about what accident might happen, what thing might be waiting out there, because we're all anxiously engaged in preventing incidents from happening. One other item that is important to consider is there is a new OSHA regulation that is being formulated. I attended a conference last summer, and the administrator for federal OSHA was asked a question: what is OSHA's highest priority? What's the thing that you want to get done during your tenure here? And his response was to institute an injury and illness prevention program standard that would require every employer in the country to have a program like this. What is that? Well, we went through and talked about the different elements of it. One of the more important things in here was a program to identify hazards. And this facility inspection program and documentation that we'll talk about today really help us to meet that requirement. So if we can meet some of the OSHA requirements at the same time as we're making our facility safer, that's all the better for us. So I believe that if we know what we're looking for, we'll probably find it. If we don't know what we're looking for, it's going to be a lot harder to find what's waiting out there to harm us. And so my belief and knowledge, really, in my experience, is that it looks like we just got a question come through, Lance, that people are having a hard time hearing me. Is that with everybody?
You know, it's been a little bit choppy, Jason.
Let me turn this webcam off and see if it's a bandwidth issue. Is that a little bit better?
Yeah, it's not any worse.
Can you hear me?
Yep, we hear you.
Okay. All right. I'll try to speak a little bit louder there. Apologize if we're having any issues with the sound quality there. I'll be a little bit louder. If we're out looking for challenges, for problems that might be out there, then we're probably going to be able to find those, identify those, and be able to take action. But my belief is that auditing, going out and looking at our facilities, is a powerful training tool. It enables everybody in the organization to know what to look for, and so we're all working together as a team. So here's some basics on these inspections, what we think should happen. We're encouraging all of our members to do inspections monthly. Have every department go out and have one person go out and look at the facility. Now, we should all be looking all the time, but this is a documented inspection, and it should be done in our estimation, by a different person each month. We think it's important that everybody gets a chance to do this. Then it takes the load away from one individual. Everybody's a part of it. We all have accountability at the end of the day, and we all learn from doing the inspection ourselves. Everybody has a different set of eyes, and they see things differently. And as we make as we go through a few cycles of doing these audits, we're going to identify a lot of things. Sometimes they're not identified in the first, second, or third audits. We also want to drive in this accountability. So once we identify the problems, really make sure that they're taken care of. We'll talk about that in just a second. So today I will send out to you some inspection forms. I have two basic inspection forms. One is a standard one that is for a shop area or a standard work area. The other one is focused on an office environment because they're very different places. And I'm sending those out to you in Microsoft Word format so you can make modifications. So you can look at those and say, I want to make this specific to my work area. We don't have an eye wash station here, don't need one. So I'm going to take that section off. But we do also have we've got an overhead hoist that we have to do inspections on. So I'm going to put that in the place of the eye wash or whatever it is. We would like you to make these as specific as you can to your work area. So people know what they're looking for, and so we have a valuable use of our time. We like to use checklists. Why checklists? Well, because it helps people to know where to get started. Now, this isn't meant to be the do-all, end-all of lists. It's merely a starting point to get the juices flowing and let us think about what might it be that we have to worry about. Lance, I forgot to do my poll. I'm going to do a quick poll for everybody. If you look at your screen, it'll come up, and you can click on the answer that best suits what you do. Does your organization conduct facility safety inspections?
I sure wish I had reminded you.
Yeah, that was your job, wasn't it?
Now that I missed it, it was.
Can you still hear me okay? Well, we're
you know, it's not bad. It's just a little bit clunky at times.
Is it dropping like it's a bandwidth issue?
Sometimes.
Okay. All right. Well, we've got 80% have chimed in. And I'll go ahead and close the poll and let everybody see it. 46% said yes, they're doing that. 28% said no. 7% are not sure. In the morning, we did this webinar twice. The early edition, we had 75% said that yes, that they were doing those audits at their facility. So that's great. All right. So in these sample documents that we have, there's a really important section here, and it has to do with supervisors or managers. And what it is a buy-off. It's an area for the manager or supervisor of the area to sign. They know about all of the issues that have been identified in this inspection that has taken place, and they have a plan in place to fix those, which is the critical part, is making sure that once we identify those hazards, they're taken care of. So we're establishing accountability in this form. So as soon as the inspection's done, it goes to the manager. They sign off that everything's in place, and then it goes to a central place, whether that's the big boss or your risk manager or safety person. And then we're going to summarize what have we done during the So let's run through this audit really quickly. It's divided into sections. The first section on here in the actual audit is doing an interview with a coworker. Just pick somebody at random and ask them these questions. Do they know where the nearest fire extinguisher is? Do they know where the safety data sheet binder is? Could they find that if they needed to? Do they know how to use a fire extinguisher and some other simple questions, but just to quiz them and see what their knowledge is of their work area. Then we go into specific physical hazards that are in the area. Hazard communication, evacuation, emergency response. They're divided up into sections, and we just simply walk through the facility and look for these things. So it's good for the person doing the audit to read through all the questions ahead of time and familiarize themselves with, this is what I'm looking for. So I just wanted to run through a couple of things quickly. Under hazard communication, we're going to look for chemicals used in the workplace. And by chemicals, that could really be a lot of things, just standard chemicals that we use, glass cleaner, it could be acids, it could be oils, anything like that. Are they labeled appropriately? Do we have the right labels? Do we have a safety data sheet for each one of those used in the area? Are they stored properly? The lid's in place and all of those things. Sample picture there. A lot of stuff is focused around evacuation and emergency response, or preparedness. So as we walk around our facility, let's look at exit paths. Are they clear? Are they open? Or do we have stuff laying in the aisleways and passages? Do we have cords that extend across those exit passages? Are the doors open and accessible? Are they bolted or chained shut that would prevent us from getting out in the event of a fire or other emergency? How about our lighting? Do we have adequate lighting on all of our exit doors in our parking lots or places we might have to go in a hurry? Do we have emergency lighting in place, and does it work? Those batteries will go dead over time, so we need to test those each month as part of our audit. Push on the button, just like we're pushing the button in this picture on the exit sign. There are some backup batteries in that type of an exit sign. We need to make sure that it switches over to that battery backup so they'll light up during an emergency when the power's off. Do we have a first aid kit easily accessible in our workplace, and is there anything in it? Is it well stocked, and is it available for people who might be injured? Picture of a door that's chained shut. Simple things like the brooms and shovels for clearing snow at an exit door could be a real hazard in the event of an evacuation. We've got to get people out of there in a hurry. Other things to think about. What about threats? Do we have procedures in place? Do we have something as simple as a bomb threat checklist at the receptionist's desk or whoever takes the bulk of the calls? Do they know how to handle it if somebody calls in a threat to your organization? Ergonomics. What do we have in place to make sure people don't hurt themselves by lifting improperly or moving materials around in the wrong way? Do we have, are people lifting appropriately? Are we storing our materials in the right place? Are we putting that heavy stuff down really low or up really high? Do we have our workstation laid out? We work in an office environment. Do we have our workstation laid out so it keeps our body parts in a neutral position so we're not straining to reach or be able to do tasks? Do we keep commonly used items close to us? Some simple ergonomics questions there. But many times we just get used to well, this is the way I've always done it in my workstation, and it may be causing us pain. Here's an example of improper restore. We've got a lot of heavy stuff up really high. That's going to force somebody to potentially contort themselves, maybe even into a shoulder, trying to lift this case of heavy oil down off the top of that shelf. Or we need an appropriate ladder to be able to pick these parts off the shelves, and then office environments as well. So other things, fire safety. This is always a concern. Are our fire extinguishers accessible? Will they work? Have we once a month we need to go out and look at each fire extinguisher, check the gauge is in the green section, that the tamper seal is still in place, the pin is in place, and that it has been inspected by a contractor within the last year. These are important steps to make sure that extinguisher is going to work if we ever do have to exit the building. That's one of the questions on the employee interview as well, is do we know how to use a fire extinguisher? What are they appropriate for? Other things to think about. Do we have a ban on open flames as you're doing your inspection? Are there open flames like candles or anything like that anywhere in our building? That's a way that we can easily burn our building down. Are we storing our flammable liquids appropriately? Either in a flammable storage cabinet, or we keep our quantities down to the point where we don't have to do that. Are alarms available? How do we get people out of the building? And if we have fire alarm pull stations, are they accessible and visible for people to pull as they're exiting a burning building? Something as simple as, are all the ceiling tiles in our drop ceiling, are they still in place? What does that do? Well, it may prevent the spread of fire throughout the building. Those ceiling tiles are there for a purpose, and it's not just aesthetic. Here's an example of a fire extinguisher. A couple of issues there. It hasn't been, excuse me, I went a little bit ahead. It hasn't been inspected in the last year, and it's also sitting on the floor. These should be mounted on the wall in an area where they're easily accessible, and we ought to have at least 3 feet of clearance around those. Some general safety items. We need to look for slips, trips, and falls, liquids on the floor, cords extending across the work area, maybe drawers left out. Look at our general housekeeping. That's an indication of how safe our facility is. Here's an example of cords that are not taken care of, and you know, you may think that's not a big deal. We've had a number of people wrap a foot up in a cord like that and take a serious fall and have had some very serious injuries come from that. Out in the shop again, take a look at our tools. Are the guards in place? Are tools in good condition? If there's any tape on the cords from any of these hand tools that are our power tools that are out there, that's probably an indication that that cord is damaged and it needs to be taken out of service and repaired. Are we doing a proper lockout, tag out? Simple storage of materials. If I've got a bunch of long, heavy materials, are they just tipped up in the corner of the shop? Are we storing things like grater blades vertically that can tip over and smash our toes or break our feet? So think about that. Even something like a ladder should be restrained so it doesn't tip over and damage us or the equipment that we have in the shop. Personal protective equipment would be things like earplugs and safety glasses and respirators and that type of equipment. Is it available in the workplace, and are the employees using it that are required to use that type of equipment? And is it stored properly? In this picture, you can see some respirators that clearly aren't being stored properly. They're contaminated because they're stored outside of or inside the work area where there's contaminants. So we need to make sure that we handle those appropriately and use them right. Electrical safety. This is a really common thing that we find as we go out to your facilities. We find a lot of electrical issues, whether it's something like this where you've got an electrical panel that's blocked. If there's a fire or for some reason we need to quickly get into that panel, it's going to be a challenge to get there because we've got stuff stored in front of it. There's other things, you know, so we haven't overloaded our breaker panels. Or we haven't overloaded the circuits that we have out there. Too many plugs in one outlet. Wet areas should be protected by ground fault circuit interrupters. Emergency equipment. Is it accessible? Is that eye wash station open and easily accessible? If somebody gets something in their eye, are they going to be able to rush there with their eyes closed and get to that eye wash station? Those eye wash stations should be inspected weekly. That's the ANSI standard that OSHA will make you live by. We want to make sure that we're at least looking at those once a month. Make sure that you actually test the eye wash station. Turn it on. If there's rusty brown water that comes out of that, it probably hasn't been flowed for a while. There have been a number of times when I've opened up an eye wash station and there was no water that came out. So let's take a look at that and make sure that those are functioning, because we want to make sure that those are in good shape if somebody ever does have to get a chemical or other thing in their eye. Fire extinguishers is the same way. So like we said, once we identify a problem, we need to correct it. How do we go about doing that? Well, if you're just the inspector, many of those things you can correct on your own. There's a garbage can in front of the fire extinguisher. Well, that's a pretty easy fix. So we'd expect that you would fix those, correct those problems as you go through. If it takes more, we've got to buy parts, or there's something that has to be modified in the facility, then we move it up the chain. Take that back to the supervisor or the manager and give them the information and let them come up with the fix. Hopefully we've got some ideas on how we can make it better. One good way to make sure we don't lose these is to have a program in place that we track those. We call them an action register. We identify the problem, we identify what we're going to do, we assign that to somebody and track it until it's completed. At the Trust, we've built an electronic application that's available on your Apple devices as well as online. We call it My Trust, and it's the SAR application. You can do it all within the Trust. Take pictures and create the entire report and email it right from the application. Or if you want to do it just simple, you can make a spreadsheet or a handwritten list, just something that we're not going to lose those. We're going to track those until they're fixed. Here's an example of the reports that My Trust will generate. And then keep a list and say, how many of these this month we identified 20 actions that we need to take, 20 deficiencies, and we completed 18 of those. Well, this is a way that we can track those 2 that we didn't fix. What's up with those 2? And this way, management keeps abreast of that situation, and so we don't lose those. All right. Like I said, my belief as well as my knowledge in working this for a long time is facility inspections are a powerful tool. Now, I've done these as a safety professional for years and years, and they're great when I do it. I think they're wonderful, but I think they're even more powerful when the individual people that are working in that area go out and identify these things, because guess what? I leave when my inspection's over, and you've got to work there all the time. Take control of your area, take some pride in what you do in your work area, and say, I'm not going to have unsafe situations go on here. Go out and grab that inspection form that we'll send out today, and walk through your area and just see how you do. And I'd love to hear some feedback from you on what you found when you went through this sheet, and just encourage you to get involved in your safety. Of course, your employer has responsibility to provide you a safe workplace, but don't ever rely on somebody else for your own safety. You need to take that bull by the horns and say, I'm not going to allow myself to be hurt on the job or allow others to be hurt. I'm going to do something about it. All right. I believe that's everything I had. I went longer than I did the first time. Lance, do we have any questions that have come up? Looks like we had a couple of audio difficulties.
Right. I haven't had any come to me specifically. I did get a couple of feedbacks that people were feeling okay about, they could hear the audio, but it was just choppy. So
just for everybody that may have had some issues there, I apologize for that. I don't know if we're having some bandwidth issues or what, or it might be my microphone. I will. This is recorded, and I'll be sending out the link to this recording this afternoon, as long as our IT folks can get that posted up on our website. So you'll get an email from you with the safety inspection sheet checklist, as well as that link to the recording of this webinar. And if you have any questions, please shoot me an email. You've got my email on the screen right now, as well as my cell phone. And you can call Lance, Doug, or myself at any time if you have questions regarding these safety issues. All right.
Wait, we had one question. It'd be nice if we could send out the checklist forms, and that's something we'll do right away.
Yeah, we'll send that out by email, and once again, those are in a Word format, so you can go in and modify those and add your site-specific cares and considerations there. So thank you very much, everyone. I appreciate your time and your attention today. Go out and have a safe day.